It's the OCGFAM show. We're talking about slurry tests. It's going to be fun. Let's get into it. Hey there. Hey there. Papa Morgan's Constant Gardener. Welcome to the OCGFAM show to you, my YouTube buddies. What's going on? How you doing out there? Let me know in the comments and we'll talk about it after the show. Right now, let's just get into the show because I got a little bit of a long clip today, but it's a super important one. Now, before I get into that, last time we were here, I said, do you want more basic, more nerdy, or really dig into the deep stuff? And you said, pretty overwhelmingly, dig into the deep stuff. And how you do a slurry test is probably pretty basic, not the deep stuff. But I think this is the basis for the deep stuff because we need to get all on the same page as to how we do our slurry test to get our numbers so we can talk more deeply about the what to do when you got this, that, or this, or the other thing from those slurry tests. So this is like the comprehensive and total how does Scott do it. Maybe it's not the right way by other people's standards, but it's how we're all going to do it so we can be talking the same language. So I want to have you watch this clip. And then next time we'll get into some of those other things. I'll talk to you about that after the clip. Watch the clip now, please.
Now, you probably don't think this is a good question, and it may not be a good question, but it's a good video because I don't think we have this all in one place. How do I properly slurry test, and what would I be recording and learning from them? So, not how to do it, how we do it to give a slurry test that everyone else can know you've done it in this method. Because there's lots of ways to do a slurry test, I suppose, but the way we do it is so that we all are on the same page when we're talking about those results. What is that process?
Well, our process is a 1-to-1. So it's, 2 ounces of soil, 2 ounces of the water you use to water. I think most people make the big mistake of going, here's my 2 ounces of soil, and I'm going to go get this distilled water to make sure my reading's correct. It's like, if you don't use distilled water, please don't use that in a slurry because it's not what's going into your soil to feed your plants. We got to know what is happening when your plant is being saturated by the hydration that you give it. So we do 1-to-1. I know Blue Lab says 2-to-1. They also have a probe that takes 24 hours to read the same thing. So if you're talking to Nectar family and Nectar people, we understand 1-to-1 and we understand how to fix the results of a 1-to-1 ratio.
With the water you're using.
Yeah, with the water you use. And don't pH correct it. I mean, if you use pH corrected water every time, then use that as your slurry. If you just water your plants out of the faucet, that's the slurry I need. Because that's what's happening and that's the reaction that's occurring in the soil. So 1-to-1, equal parts.
Okay. And can you use a half an ounce, 4 ounces, 8 ounces, 16 ounces? I mean, what is there?
Basically, you need enough to where your meters can be completely submerged to read it. And a lot of guys will do the saturation and then squeeze out the water into a little shot glass and read it that way.
Okay.
Either way, you're starting. The only reason why I don't like the squeezing is because a lot of times I feel like I'm, it's like when you squeeze a lemon peel, you can get more juice out of it. It's bitter as heck, but if you just squeeze the lemon, then you get the sweet part of the lemon.
And get it's a standard. It's not.
Yeah.
Because that's really what we're looking for here is a reading that we can all share and know that this is, so we can have a standard to it.
And our standard's literally a snapshot. Most of us are under the understanding that this is today's snapshot. If you took it from even the opposite side of the pot, it might be off by a point. It might be 50 parts per million different. I mean, there's so many variables on that. But getting the gist with the same numbers of 1-to-1, 2 to 3 inches below the soil surface, because that's where we want to see what's happening in the root zone. Don't pull it off the bottom. Don't do the leaches. 1-to-1 off the top 2 to 3 inches, and that gives us what we as a collective group have come together with and said, here, when we see these numbers, these are the actions we would like you to take to make the corrections that happen, and it's just our standard.
Okay.
So, and different methods for different companies and different meters, but honestly, that has worked great for us for 20 years, and in the agriculture for about 8 years before that, that's how we tested fields, and we do pretty good at our recommendations post those slurries.
Okay. What do you think of that? Informative, entertaining, helpful? Tomorrow, I'm going to show you a clip where we talk a little bit about not how to do a slurry test, but why to do a slurry test. And then after that, here's what I'm wanting you to do. You said you wanted to get nerdier. Those of you that were in the comments and said, let's go deeper into this. Give me some nerdy questions. Really dig down. Think about it. What can we do to advance this conversation about how to grow a nectar? And let's get into it. I'm excited. I love you, and I'll see you tomorrow. The OCG Fam Show. It's pretty good. It happens every day. It's the OCG Fam Show. See you tomorrow.